This year, we had a glimpse of the future. Pluto, the planet of deep transformation, made its first foray into Aquarius, spending 2.5 months in the sign of the genius, the revolutionary, and the outsider. And what's truly intriguing about this transit is how it really serves as a preview for the next 20 years of history with Pluto in Aquarius. We saw suggestions of the technologies and trends that are going to revolutionize the world and bring us fully into the age of air. Of course, we've talked about Pluto in Aquarius many times on this channel, including in this video, when I was joined by the inimitable S.J. Anderson. And guess what? S.J.'s back. And together, we're going to consider some of the major developments that took place while Pluto was in Aquarius and what they tell us about where our world is heading.
So I think what we'll do is go through some of these major stories, some of the major themes. The idea with this video is that we can explore together and lay out what we might think are some of the more important high-level events that took place. Pluto is transformation at its core. It's destruction, it's death, but for the purpose of transforming, of birthing something new around the Aquarian. Technology, collective structure, hierarchy, innovation, all of those things we talked about.
But those 2.5 months of Pluto in Aquarius were a small preview of what's coming. We can think of it as a period of omens for the next 2 decades of global change. Pluto made its first ingress into Aquarius on March the 23rd this year. It stationed retrograde on May the 1st and left Aquarius for Capricorn on June the 11th. In fact, that was just the first of 3 entrances into Aquarius that Pluto will be making, and it will take until November 2024 for it to be permanently settled into that sign. Now we're going to consider the major themes we saw emerging over this period, and we're going to start with the explosion in AI technologies and the reaction to that we saw over the past few months.
So maybe the biggest story is the rise of AI. And this is a major event in the human collective. Some commentators are talking about it being more important than the Gutenberg printing press or more important than the invention of language. It's a fundamental transformation, some are saying, in the way that humans interact with each other, the way that the economy operates. And what's so interesting about the rise of AI, it's really a great example of Saturn and Aquarius finishing out its time. Part of the new foundation Saturn laid in Aquarius was the innovation of establishing AI.
It was really March that was the truly landmark month in terms of AI. Here's a tweet from AI influencer Rowan Chung saying March 2023 will go down as one of the most revolutionary months in history. Of course, both Pluto and Saturn changed signs that month, so March's revolutionary flavor was really no surprise to anyone following the astrology.
And when Saturn left Aquarius for good, 7 March 2023, there was just a little bit of a pocket before Pluto entered Aquarius. It was almost as if Saturn handed the baton to Pluto, relay race style.
AI has been in development for decades, but it was with Saturn in Aquarius that the first truly impressive image generation tools started to appear.
OpenAI released ChatGPT late 2022 and into early 2023. Pluto was not in Aquarius yet, but Saturn was direct its final time in those final degrees of Aquarius. So AI is a great example of this teamwork, this tag team nature of the Aquarian that Saturn and Pluto have enacted upon us here in the 2020s. ChatGPT-4, which is the current iteration, the most advanced that's available, was released March 14th, 2023. So after Saturn left, right before Pluto entered, and then it continued to rise almost immediately. The thing about this Pluto and Aquarius preview period has been a constant rise of AI. It's not just ChatGPT and OpenAI, but it is Bing integrates AI in the search engine. It is Snapchat has a chatbot that's AI related. It's Google Bard. It's almost any company you can think of. So it's the undeniable major theme in terms of the technological innovation side of Aquarius, the rise of AI.
Pluto in Aquarius showed us both the promise of AI, but also the perils of it and the fears it's bringing into the collective. We also saw resistance against this technology emerging.
There's the side of AI that is just a pure tech innovation, like humans benefit, right, from technology. We can make more things and produce more things efficiently and create things in new and fresh ways. The other side of it, though, is the struggle to adapt. Humans are losing things as AI comes online. And that's been a major part of this time as well, when you have jobs going away. There's all kinds of conversations, particularly like administrative work. The AI can do it like that. I don't know if you've played with this yet, but you can type in, draft me a contract, ChatGPT, boom, you have a draft legal contract. It's pretty good and pretty accurate. And so it's the consequences of the AI that are also very, very prominent here as we experience Pluto and Aquarius for the first time. We saw Italy, for example, in early April. Pluto had been in Aquarius for about a week, and the Italian parliament comes out and says, hey, we're regulating the hell out of ChatGPT and OpenAI because there's risks of privacy. What happens when you type to an AI and you start giving it personal information, or you give AI your likeness and it hijacks your likeness and your voice, and unless all of a sudden there's an AI generated bot of you that's not really you, all kinds of questions emerge.
Hollywood writers are taking action against the potential for AI to replace their jobs.
You have the Hollywood writers' strike, comes right with and starts with Pluto and Aquarius, where writers are saying, listen, producers and studios are using ChatGPT to take our jobs. I personally don't think that ChatGPT is a very good writer yet. I've played with it a lot. It doesn't get it right. It's good at generating drafts and initially bringing ideas on the table, but it can't replace the human creative spirit or the ingenuity of human beings. But this is what Hollywood writers are saying. They're saying, listen, pay us what we're worth. Don't replace us with these machines. You are going to cheapen the art, cheapen our craft, and basically cheapen the collective artistry of humanity. That's what's at stake ultimately at the highest levels. It's not just the payment for jobs that are being displaced, but it's what is creativity? What is the collective creative, the myth making in the society? Really across industry, AI has emerged as a threat, as a technology of transformation. Another example, Palantir, the big data analytics company. The Palantir's business is owning as much data as it can and analyzing that data. It came out in April, Pluto and Aquarius, showing how it will use AI on the battlefield, and it's developing software that deploys AI to see human movements, and they're just launching missiles. The AI is deciding to launch when it sees a human heat map or something like this. So this is some of the danger we're seeing.
There are a lot of fears surrounding this technology. Fears that it will replace people's jobs, make human creativity obsolete, and even that it will destroy the entire world. It's a little reminiscent of the creation of the nuclear bomb, the ultimate destructive invention of the age of Earth. Before the first nuclear bomb was tested, scientists worried that it might set the entire planet's atmosphere alight, killing everything on Earth. But they did it anyway. And now we have similar fears around AI, with certain figures warning that a future superintelligence might kill us all in a quest to make more paperclips.
During Pluto and Aquarius, or the day before the ingress, March 22nd, 2023, Future of Life Institute publishes an open letter signed by 300 experts, including Elon Musk, Yuval Harari, Andrew Yang, and other luminaries in the AI and the tech field. And they come out and say, pause this research. We don't know the implications of it. We don't know the damage it can do. We don't know how it's going to change humanity or the collective or governance or any of these worst case scenarios that are potential with AI. And that's timed right as Pluto enters Aquarius. And so you can see it's the Plutonic versus the Saturnine. The Saturnine was more new foundations and innovation. Pluto comes and says, hey, what are the deep issues, the deep transformative aspects of this thing, the stakes of these new innovations? And that's all the Plutonic imperative.
It's clear that the disruptive effects of AI and resistance against it will be a major theme of Pluto in Aquarius. There's a certain sense that human beings are being replaced as the primary intelligent species on Earth. And that's a theme we also see with Pluto in Aquarius, the displacement of the center. We've seen it happen to royalty in the 18th century and to popes in the 16th. Is it happening to the human species itself now? There's clearly a spiritual dimension to all this. We're already seeing suggestions that AI could be used to influence and even shape our most fundamental beliefs.
So when Pluto enters Aquarius, these conversations about religion and AI come online. And what is more collective than religion? Because religion requires groups of people joining to worship some kind of deity or to cohere around a belief system or a set of ideas or a set of ethics. So right in these last few days of Pluto and Aquarius, this story came out. ChatGPT wrote a sermon in Germany. Hundreds attended this service. Jonas Simmerlein, a theologian and philosopher from the University of Vienna. So he was quoted as saying it was 98% from the machine, this sermon. So he was only tweaking it in a minor fashion, but the idea was, let's see what this machine can do. Let's see if we can connect machine to God. This is the kind of Plutonic application of the Aquarian. Let's take it all the way. Let's see how deep we can go.
And futurist and World Economic Forum advisor Yuval Harari has claimed that AI might write a new Bible for a new religion that is more correct than established faiths.
He was quoted right here at the end of Pluto and Aquarius, this first preview period, and he says, all religions make this claim that their book is written by non-human entity. This is a key feature of religions. And Harari says, we finally have a technology where that will be true, that it's non-human, right? The AI has written the book. And so that the religion actually has sort of a claim to this foundational piece of all religions. I'm skeptical because is it really written by a non-human entity? Is AI a non-human entity, a non-human intelligence? I don't think we can say that with confidence yet. That said, I do think that people will be very, very susceptible. When you present a book and you say an AI wrote it, people really tend to be easily sold and like, hey, look at this AI thing. It's written a book. It speaks to me. It's been trained on all of the history of religions. And now it's distilled that into some kind of core ideal using the AI language model technology. That can be kind of cool on the one hand, and maybe it can help us glean insight. I think in terms of a preview, a window into Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years, Pluto leaving Aquarius in the early 2040s, my sense is that it's almost guaranteed there will be some kind of new religion built around AI, and there will be religious books written by AI.
There's an interesting echo here with Pluto's last pass through Aquarius between 1777 and 1798. This was the period of the French Revolution. In 1793, the revolutionaries established what they called the Cult of Reason, an atheist religion intended to replace Roman Catholicism. They held ceremonies in churches, including Notre Dame, in which they dethroned God and celebrated ideas like reason, liberty, philosophy, and the revolution. It's all eerily familiar. Before we go on, I just want to let you know that I'm now offering a new service. Electional astrology. Astrological elections are about using astrology to find the optimum moment in time to take action. In order to maximize their chances of success, rulers of the ancient past would unfailingly consult astrologers before doing anything important, whether it was going to war or founding a city or getting married. But you can use electional astrology for almost anything, whether it's applying for a job or holding a party, or launching a product or signing a contract. If you have something important you have to do or want to maximize your chances of success, I'm available for private electional consultations, where I will find you the best possible time to take action based on the qualities of the moment and your natal chart. And not only that, but both SJ and I are available for private natal astrology consultations. You can find the details on how to book with either of us in the details below. Thanks for listening. But going back to Pluto in Aquarius, we saw a second theme emerging in this period, one that we identified in our Pluto in Aquarius video last year. And that's the emergence into mainstream discourse of the UFO phenomenon.
Have human beings been hurt or killed by a non-human intelligence?
I was briefed by a few individuals on the program that there were malevolent events like that.
On June the 5th, just days before Pluto left Aquarius, a bombshell story from two serious journalists, Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal, appeared on the Debrief news website. The story claimed that the US government had retrieved craft of non-human origin and is working to understand how they work. And the source of the information was a whistleblower named David Grush, who led analysis of unexplained anomalous phenomena within a US Department of Defense agency. And his story was confirmed by sources still working for the US government.
Personally, I haven't gone too much into detail on it because I'm still waiting to be convinced, but it is undeniable that this story emerges, and it's quite Aquarian. It's a classic Aquarian stereotype, the alien. You don't get more classic than that. This has been memed by so many pop astrologers the last 20, 30, 40 years. Aquarius is the alien. And now with Pluto here, we get major breakthroughs, major deep truths, that's a Pluto theme, around aliens arriving on the scene during this preview period.
If this story is for real, it's surely one of the most important of all time, and it's one that once again challenges and even destroys the centrality of the human race on this planet. Or another possibility is that the US government is running some kind of psyop in which they actually want us to believe in a phenomenon that doesn't really exist. Either possibility is very strange. And if this is what we see during a preview of Pluto in Aquarius, that suggests we can expect truly mind-blowing developments once it permanently enters the sign at the end of 2024. But that's not all. We also saw the emergence of a piece of technology that may well have as profound an effect on our societies as the smartphone did.
So for me, maybe the most interesting story with Pluto and Aquarius, remember when planets are about to leave a sign, in those final days and weeks, often the true nature of what that transit's about or has been about emerges. We call it parting gifts, often when we do natal astrology. And this happened in the last week of Pluto and Aquarius. Apple, the most important tech company, in terms of when Apple decides to make a product, that technology is ready for widespread mass appeal. You've seen it all throughout history. There was all kinds of smartphones. It was only when the iPhone comes online that smartphone as we know it then gets propagated all over the world, and then people copy Apple because Apple gets it right. So in this final week of Pluto in Aquarius, Apple announces their AR headset. So the trailer that they released is wild.
Can you put your hands in your head? Oh no, I said dreamer. You say you are a dreamer.
And it really does show how we might be being transformed in terms of space and place, that consciousness is what is most important. Our perception, our language, our consciousness, that's the essential feature of the human being. Again, Pluto, what's the core truth? And that core truth then emerges and we're transformed through the acknowledgement and the adoption of that core truth. It reminds me of the Protestant Reformation. It reminds me of the Enlightenment, two major turns of the last times Pluto was in Aquarius. The nature of being itself is what is in play. So you can talk to God directly. You don't need the Catholic Church in the Protestant Reformation, or the inalienable rights of man that you don't need a government or a monarch to give you transforms the nature of being. This is similar in my view. You don't even need a kind of fully moving body. All you need is a consciousness and an Apple AR headset. And you can now be in 3D worlds communicating with people all over the planet. The dangers of it are something like the Matrix film, where we atrophy in terms of physical body, and all you have is these things attached to the physical form, and then folks get lost in the augmentation. Or that film Ready Player One, where the world in real life is kind of a shanty town, and then the worlds in the augmented reality are highly advanced and highly detailed, and people end up spending more time in the augmented than in the real.
But there was something unsettling about Apple's ad for the device. Everyone shown was alone. Even Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg noticed this and tried to use it to claim that his vision for this technology was different. But what I saw when I watched that ad was Saturn. These are deeply Saturnian times, given that transformative Pluto is in Aquarius, the last conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn was in Aquarius, and this is an age of air. And Saturn is incredibly strong in the air element. Saturn is the planet of solitude and loneliness. And this gets to the heart of one of the great tragedies of our times, the epidemic of loneliness afflicting so many people today. The great risk of the technologies emerging right now is that while promising to connect us together, they actually drive us apart. As we'd expect during a truly revolutionary period, we're also seeing geopolitical change. The war in Ukraine and the rise of China seem to be driving the growing assertiveness of the BRICS countries. That's an alliance of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They're increasingly moving to try to transform the current global financial order by moving away from using the dollar as a currency for global reserves and international settlement.
So like the last two times when Pluto was in Aquarius, we saw challenges to the authority structure of the world. Basically, the hierarchies of reality were challenged when Pluto came to Aquarius. You saw revolutions, you saw the turning over of former dominant discourses or dominant worldviews. There's been a massive acceleration of BRICS, the importance of BRICS, the conversations around de-dollarization, the maneuvering of countries around their currencies.
There's a long and growing list of countries in the global south trying to join the BRICS.
So in late April, Pluto in Aquarius, Bloomberg reports that 5 countries want to join BRICS and will apply to join the BRICS bloc. But the countries on that list of the Bloomberg reportage, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Algeria, and Bahrain. What are those countries? Those are the oil-producing states, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates in particular, part of OPEC, right? The core of OPEC, wanting to join BRICS. What would that do to the dollar and the petrodollar regime when the backbone of that now will trade directly with other BRICS nations in currencies that aren't the US dollar, in local currencies?
As Pluto moved through Aquarius, we saw an endless stream of stories showing that the geopolitical balance may be changing. Perhaps most importantly of all, we saw China broker a resumption of diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran. These two states have been hostile for decades, and the rift goes beyond geopolitics and into the spiritual realm, given that these are the major states representing the division in Islam between Sunni and Shia. Yes, the times are a-changing. Finally, something to bear in mind is that Aquarius has to do with the architecture of society itself. And with Pluto's foray into the sign, we got some big hints about how the international technocracy wants to govern the world in the coming decades.
You saw during Saturn and Aquarius the rise of things like passports that would be digitized. A lot of people had on their phones QR codes to enter spaces, not only in China, but even in Europe and other places, in some cities in America. So this was part of the emerging kind of Aquarian. Now Pluto enters Aquarius and we see, okay, what is it going to happen here? What is the deep truth around the ways that technology can both make things more efficient and bring us together, but also restrict or may create opportunities for surveillance states or surveillance architecture to emerge and sort of saturate on the collective reality.
On June the 5th, the WHO announced a partnership with the EU, and I quote, to establish a global system that will help facilitate global mobility and protect citizens across the world from ongoing and future health threats, including pandemics. Interestingly, Jupiter and Saturn were pretty close to a sextile at this time. That sextile is the first major aspect in their 20-year synodic cycle. And this cycle began with a conjunction of these planets in the first degree of Aquarius in December 2020. This was an interesting moment in time because it was when the first COVID-19 vaccines appeared. And with Pluto at that very same first degree of Aquarius and Jupiter and Saturn in a sextile, we get this announcement. What I think we're seeing then is the emergence of a kind of international framework aimed at keeping the global population safe or controlling and monitoring our movements at a global scale, depending on how you see things.
So it really is begging these questions. Technology allows us to be more efficient. It allows us to check things. And, certainly there are safety applications, but on the other hand, there's very dystopian applications. This is like classic dystopian trope, digital, ever-present surveillance.
And there was one more story of interest that's worth highlighting here, and it's about a theme we mentioned in our Pluto in Aquarius episode last year. On June the 4th, the UK announced it would be launching a trial of UBI, Universal Basic Income.
£1,600 a month, a trial. That sounds great, doesn't it? I want my £1,600 a month. Shit, Dan, we don't have to make videos anymore. My question with UBI is, what are the conditions? The devil is in the details, right? The fine print. I think it can be amazingly freeing, and this idea of Aquarius being freedom that you see in the archetype, the Uranian and Promethean release into freedom. I think this could be part of it. If you have a kind of an honest or pure form of UBI where the conditions aren't stringent, you really can release people into their creative powers. On the other hand, if you say you don't get the cash unless you say the right thing or unless you eat the right food, then you start getting into dystopianism.
There's something undeniably transformative and Aquarian about this story, and it may offer us another glimpse of the future.
So I just wish for everybody out there, process these changes, contemplate them, but center what it means to be human for you. You know, this is the great invitation of Pluto and Aquarius. We get to deeply understand and process our own humanity as the world changes around us, as the tools and technologies and the governing structures and the alliances are all shifting and morphing. There really is a sense here of like, what does it mean to be a human being? Who am I? Who are you? Deeply.
That's almost all from us in this episode. I'd like to say a big thanks to SJ for bringing his usual wisdom to the channel. You can find him at his own YouTube channel. It's called simply SJ Anderson, where he's giving awesome updates every week on the astrology of the moment. If you found this episode interesting and want to know what SJ and I said about Pluto in Aquarius last year, I suggest you watch this video, where we made forecasts for what we thought this 20-year period would bring, and you'll see how many of the themes we identified then came up in the Pluto Aquarius preview period earlier this year. Thanks, and see you next time.